Happy Wednesday, everybody. Thanks for joining us. And got a special treat for you. We're going to read some true stories, people who are experiencing love through the veil. But as you can see by what's behind me, I'm going to start by reading a few excerpts from our book, some chapters. And I haven't done this before, I don't think so. But it occurred to me that we should read some of this to you. Somebody in my soulmates group said you should read the whole book, but I'm not going to do that. But certainly a few chapters. So what happened this morning was with this in mind, I was going through a book and it landed on a certain chapter that we're going to start with. We're going to read, I think, at least two, maybe three chapters. We'll see how we go. We're teaching this live, so we'll see what everybody in the live chat says. Okay, if you guys want more. But I also have a couple of other true stories. But we're going to start this off with our story just to set the scene. But let me explain, first of all, with the book, because some of you watching this later don't even know we wrote this book. Okay, so really my whole relationship with Alan was developed by writing that book. When he passed away, one of the first things he said to me was, "You're going to write our story." Now, mind you, this was the first week. There was no story to write yet. There was not like anything had happened quite yet. He just started to communicate with me. But he already was saying, "We're going to write down this story." And he gave me the title, Supernatural Love, right off the bat and said, "You're going to have to get the domain name. The website is going to be called Supernatural Love." And at the time I thought, wait, surely that is taken, right? The term supernatural love. But it was available. It cost a pretty penny, but he said, "Don't worry about it. That's our book. That's going to be our website. You need to buy it." And so done within a week. And I said, "About this book thing, what are you talking about?" And he said, "Because you're going to just chronicle your journey." So as the months passed, I began posting in the Facebook group that he had me create, that we still have, called, now the name of it is Soulmates in the Afterlife. And I was sharing my story because he was telling me so many things and it was so amazing. So I started posting in the group, I'd say at least twice a day, maybe more. And this was going on for weeks. Okay, so I assumed that the book was going to be compilation of these posts, right? Because they were quite amazing. And if you're in the group right now, if you scrolled, like had the patience to scroll back for the past several years, you probably would find some of those original posts. I think they're gosh, I don't know how many. I think I printed them all out when we started writing the book because I thought that I was going to be putting those in the book, but ended up not doing that. Only maybe less than half a dozen of those posts ended up being put in the book. So it quickly became clear to me that, okay, this book is just me telling our story. And so I started to write our story. And to this day, I don't know how I wrote that book because it just came through. It was a combination of me and my just expressing what was happening to me, right? Sharing what's going on. And then Alan was communicating to me and through other people, through other mediums who were friends of ours, who he needed to have them share his perspective because sometimes he knew that I couldn't completely understand what he was trying to say, and it was easier for him to come through others, but a lot of it was directly to and through me. So the book is both my expressing my story and him sharing his perspective. And when we started writing the book, he said to me, I still can't believe, I still was shocked when he said this to me. He said, "The book is going to be infused with spiritual energies and frequencies. It's going to help people make contact. It's going to open a portal, a doorway to the other side, people will find it easier to connect to their loved ones or to connect to the spirit world in general, right? So I heard him say that. And of course, me, I'm thinking, am I making that up? Like, is that for real? Like, but when the book came out, and a very dear friend of mine who's very spiritually aware and he's been on path for quite a long time, and he read the book, even though he doesn't have a loved one on the other side, and he said he started to hear his guides talking to him more loudly. And he said, Pam, that book is a doorway to the spirit world. He says they do come through. And he was noticing things were happening from. So I thought, okay, that's great. Like, all right. And my friend even told me, he said he had heard of other spiritual teachers who had created things like a book that they set the intention and for certain things to manifest, for certain things to occur for people. And so he had no doubt that Alan was working on his side with the with the spirit world to weave some magic into that book. So that's what it is. And whether you get the Kindle version, which at the time of this recording is only 99 cents, because we want everybody to read our story. And yet that's the easiest way for me to make it available for practically free, right? So if you have Kindle, you can get on your Kindle. If you don't have Kindle, you can get the free Kindle app for your phone, your laptop, your tablet, and look at it that way. If you have Alexa will read our book to you. I freaked me out when I first heard Alexa reading my words back to me in my living room when my friend was visiting me. She goes, "Oh, I think Alexa will read your book." And I said, "No, you got to be kidding." So even if we don't have an audio version yet, if you have Alexa will read our book to you. Okay, but anyway, we wrote it so that it would open that door for you. And from what I've heard from several of our students and clients, it's done that. I was still shocked when people told me they were rereading the book because it's not a thin book, okay? It's like, here it is. This 354 words, okay? Or I'm sorry, 354 pages. Alan's correcting me. Yeah, it's a thick book, and it's has no more and no less than what needed to be in there to convey our story and to help you make contact. But I sort of forgot that in the book there's actually a lot of information that will help you. So I'm going to read at least a few chapters. It's not all about just me and Alan and what we're saying. There's a lot that came through. There was a lot that he taught me. And so this is the chapter, interesting enough, that he wanted me to start with. It wasn't have been my logical choice, but I'm not going with my logic. Okay, I'm going with my intuition and him. And Alan said, no, we want to start here. So the chapter we're starting with is chapter 16 in the book, and it's titled The Super Empath, because one of the things that I was really stunned to find out was that the other side, when you and I cross over and they on the other side, they're full empaths, meaning that they can feel what we feel and what others feel, and they're emotional. Okay, so teachers who are telling you, oh, when you cross over, you let go of human emotion. I mean, does that even sound like desirable? Like, does that even sound, you know, what we want? Like, come on. So you want to cross over and what? Be like have no emotion, no feeling, what, just exist? That is not how the other side is. Thank goodness. Okay. Alan dispelled that for me. And then lately I've have a teacher I'm studying out of body experiences with, and he says the same thing. He says the other side, your soul, when you cross over, you're as emotional as you are here. The only difference is you're not stuck in negative emotion. You're not wallowing in, you know suffering and berating yourself and other people, right? But you are fully emotional. And yes, you can even get angry on the other side, but you're not going to stay stuck in that anger. Anger is not necessarily a negative emotion. There are times when it's appropriate to get angry, to stand up for yourself and say, no, like this is not what I want, or to, as you know, to get into anger about a cause that you want to get fired up about. So they are emotional on your side. So he wanted me to start with the super empath. So I'm just going to read from the book. Okay, I'm not going to be have a teleprompter. This is just us keeping it real. Yeah, and whenever you listen to us, we'll always be keeping it real, right? This is not like super edited and nothing fancy here. Right. So chapter 16, the super empath. Alan asked me to chronicle every step of our journey so that others would see that everything he was doing, their loved ones could do as well. Perhaps not in the same way, but yes, they could still do it. Some will achieve more and do it faster. Each person is unique in their level of consciousness, so there will be things that some can do more easily than others, but every soul can learn if they decide to apply themselves. For this reason, we should resist comparing our experiences. If we want contact with a loved one in spirit, we should welcome their presence and engage with them on an ongoing basis. They are just a thought away. But if we want to experience them, we should strive to be proactive. Speaking aloud to them is one way. Channeling by writing questions for them and writing the responses to those questions are another. This is how we can build a bridge to their world. It's a joint effort. This is why Alan asked me to channel him every day. He knew that doing so made his presence real and tangible to me. It can also help to have a project or goal to work on with them. Writing this book brought us closer too. And while there will always be exceptions, it takes an enormous amount of energy for most souls to do things like physically materialize or move objects. Materialization is a phenomenon that requires a huge amount of focused energy and practice. And why would they work on developing this if we are disinterested? Or even worse, if we are afraid of the other side? If we believe they are dead and gone or are fearful of seeing them, our loved ones will back away. It's too painful for them to stay close only to be ignored. They don't want to upset us either. How would we feel if we were in their shoes? Would we want to hang around if we were being ignored or causing them distress? This doesn't mean they can't or won't return to us. It also doesn't mean they automatically leave if we are not engaging with them. The door between the two worlds never closes. It remains open. Upon his initial return, Alan was frustrated to discover that I couldn't hear him. He had assumed because I'd communicated with spirit for years that I'd have no problem hearing him, but he underestimated the debilitating effect of grief. Until my grief eased, I heard only bits and pieces of what he said. In the beginning, I assumed, of course, it was my imagination. Alan wisely chose to focus on projecting his love to me so that I would feel him, since physical sensations and emotions are things we can't imagine. Feeling his love eased my grief. Often his presence came as a complete surprise, like the time I was standing at the kitchen sink washing up the dinner dishes when I found myself feeling aroused. In my mind's eye, I saw Alan standing behind me with a sheepish grin on his face. When I asked him what he was up to, he confessed it was all his doing. He was experimenting to see what he could do to me. Without thinking, I scolded him as I would have done in the past, and then laughed at how ludicrous it was for me to be annoyed when I should welcome his through the veil experiment to pleasure me. Then there was the time that the song You Are So Beautiful, sung by Joe Cocker, popped up on my music app just as I was listening to it on my phone, thus causing me to almost fall over while carrying a laundry basket full of bed linen when Alan's passion swept in to greet me. Yet another time, I popped my AirPods into my ears when, without even turning on my phone, I heard the song Too Much Heaven by the Bee Gees, the song Alan had sent to me for our anniversary. Goosebumps flowed. When the song ended, the next tune that played was some jarring heavy metal music that made my head hurt. The song wasn't even on our playlist. I tried to turn off the music, but since it wasn't coming from my phone or any of my other devices, there was nothing to turn off. So I yelled out, Alan, if you're doing this, this isn't funny anymore. Turn the damn music off. The music stopped. Even if I couldn't hear him, Alan wanted me to know how much he loved me. However, in spite of his constant efforts, there were still times when I doubted him. He had never shown me love like this before. He would have been different if he'd been romantic and attentive through all our years together rather than complacent and detached. I wanted more than anything to believe in his love, but I couldn't shake my lingering doubts. Then one morning, after waking up earlier than usual, I walked to my desk and I powered up my laptop. I felt Alan next to me as I always did. When I was suddenly filled with an aching sadness, I didn't understand what was going on. What was happening? As soon as I asked that question in my mind, the answer came. These were his emotions I was feeling, not mine. I was feeling Alan's pain. I suddenly knew that he was heartbroken, worried sick that I didn't believe he loved me. The weight of his heartache hit my own heart as if a brick had been hurled through it. My knees almost buckled under me as I broke down sobbing, feeling Alan's sorrow and distress wash over me in waves of emotion that cut like shards of glass. It was too much to bear. I never imagined that his pain was equal to my own. I assumed that being in heaven insulated him from any suffering, but I was wrong. This was his grief, his sorrow, his remorse. Alan was grieving as much as I was. Suddenly, a greater, wiser part of me began to stir. I whispered at first, then heard my voice grow louder and louder until I practically bellowed. I believe, oh my God, I believe in you, Alan. I'm so, so sorry for not believing in you, for not believing you are here, for doubting you love me. I know you are with me. I know that you will always be with me. I'm so sorry. I promise I will never doubt you again. I believe in you, my love. Alan was sobbing with me. I shook uncontrollably as he held me, my body melting into his as we merged. Barely able to stand, I rocked back and forth, instinctively trying to comfort both of us. In the next instant, Alan's love wrapped around me tightly, causing me to shiver and tingle from head to toe. And then, just like that, the grief lifted and was gone. I gasped for air. I hadn't realized that I'd been holding my breath. My heart was pounding. I'd never felt the fullness of his emotions like this before. The depth and breadth of his love for me caught me off guard. I could feel every emotion Alan was feeling. Everything: sadness, guilt, remorse, passion, and love. Most of all, love. The intensity of his love made me weep. It never occurred to me that he was experiencing grief and pain. After all, wasn't heaven all rainbows and unicorns? Well, apparently not. No, just because you're in heaven doesn't mean you're eternally happy, at least not when your partner remains in a body. Alan admitted that he had suffered watching me drown in my grief, unable to help me. How could I know that he was hurting as much as I was? That guilt and remorse had scarred his soul, leaving a gaping open wound. Alan could have eased his pain by distancing himself from me. He could have even switched his feelings off completely, but now that he was free of his ego, he wanted to feel everything I was feeling. Regretting how distant he had been with me, he wanted there to be no more separation between us. He was determined to tear down the veil and merge with me, even if it brought him pain. And these are his words now. Just because I don't have a body doesn't mean my heart can't shatter into a million pieces. Yes, I can rise above my suffering because I'm in heaven where I can create any experience I choose. But I don't want to distance myself from you like I did before. No. After keeping you at arm's length for 30 years, I want to feel everything you feel, all of it: the highs, the lows, the joy, the torment, the confusion, and everything in between. I'm not afraid of my emotions anymore, not like when I was in a body. Now I welcome all of it, even the pain, because I know my feelings will move through me like the ever changing weather. Only now it's emotions that move through the landscape of my existence, not wind, rain, or storm clouds. At last, I'm fully alive to all that I feel. I will never close off my heart or my feelings ever again. For to love is to feel deeply, and to feel is to be alive. So let us feel everything together, my sweet love. Alan was staying true to his vow to always be with me, which meant he wanted to feel whatever I felt, to be fully present with me in everything I experienced, no matter what the cost to him. It was a price he was happy to pay if it meant we could be together. He asked me to read something written by a medium who said that grief existed on the other side for the reason he had just explained. Souls are still human, very much alive, and feel and grieve just as we do. Their pain can be greater than ours, not just because their empathic sense is on another higher scale than ours, but because they feel love more deeply. In the higher realms, there are super empaths who are extremely emotional. Alan admitted that his sorrow was greater than mine, but this was no contest that he wanted to win. He didn't want me to dwell on his pain. He wanted me to understand the importance of feeling all my feelings, no matter what. Pam, I want you to come to me when you are sad and cry your eyes and heart out. When the pain takes you down for the count, come to bed, lie next to me, and cry into your pillow. Let me love you. Let me soothe you. Don't hold anything back. Give it all to me. In time, there will be nothing left of your grief but the love that I'm endlessly pouring into you to take its place. But first, you must let go of every bit of pain, fear, and resentment. I will never leave your side. I'll always be right here, loving you, come what may. Alan didn't want to tell me he could feel my pain because he knew full well that the only way for me to heal my grief was to dive into it. He worried that if I knew how my sorrow was impacting him, that I'd hold back for fear of hurting him. For the mere thought of him suffering made me cry. So instead, he did all he could to swallow his pain and love me with his whole heart and soul, no matter how it affected him. But that morning, it had become too much for him. Alan was overwhelmed by the weight of his emotions, not knowing how else to prove to me that he was with me, that nothing had changed except that he no longer had a body. He would never give up trying to reach me, even if it took forever. Still, he couldn't help but feel disheartened and hurt whenever I became distraught and pulled away from him. All of this is new for me, Pam. I'm more sensitive. I feel everything you feel because I returned to merge with you so we can love again. But this is a double edged sword that can cut me in two. I don't want you to suppress your feelings because that would not be healthy. But when you get upset, I go into an emotional tailspin and lose my balance because I feel responsible for your pain. I feel responsible for everything when it comes to you. I know I shouldn't, but I do. There have been several times when Alan would go quiet and seem withdrawn. I couldn't understand why our heart to heart conversations would flow one day and then stop completely for a time, especially when it came to certain subjects. He always had something to say of a general nature, and with clients, he would talk nonstop. But when I asked something pointedly personal about him or the past, I was sometimes met with silence. At the time, I chalked it up to my grief and assumed I was the problem, not him. Now I wondered if I was wrong. The problem was understanding his reluctance to speak freely didn't make it easier for me to accept Alan's behavior. After all, we had spent 30 years together without much meaningful soul bearing conversation. And now I needed it more than ever. If we couldn't talk without censoring ourselves, without fearing how the other might take it, what sort of relationship could we have? Communication is the foundation for all relationships. Without it, you don't have one. I had no idea Alan needed healing as much as I did, but then again, I also didn't know my husband had become a super empath. He was clinging tightly to his emotions and his ego personality so that we could have a normal relationship. But this could backfire if Alan let it go too far, since his ego had been the cause of my suffering. He would need to strike a balance between his angel self and his human self. But was that even possible? Right. That's the end of chapter 16. Now, I do want to read chapter 17. It follows right after. It's titled Heaven is Where You Are. Moving objects is a common way spirits make their presence known, though it can unnerve those who are afraid of spirit contact. Alan had done this when he moved the battery pack of my cordless vacuum cleaner from where I had placed it near the microwave oven in the kitchen to the opposite end of the kitchen near the back door. I knew exactly where I'd left it because, for some strange reason, I'd taken the time to make a mental note of its location. The next morning, when I found the battery had moved, I asked Alan if he had done it, and he confessed immediately. Well, why did you do this? Were you trying to prove something to me? I just wanted to see if I could do it. So, yes, I moved it, but I did something else as well. Oh, what's that? I charged the battery for you. Check it out. I inserted the battery into the vacuum, then powered it up, and it's registered 3 bars, fully charged. How in the world did you do this? Well, I got the idea the other night while we were watching the movie Shazam. Do you remember when the teenager turned superhero tested his superpowers by zapping people's cell phones while he was walking through the shopping mall? I tried it, and guess what? I did it. But now, don't you go asking me to charge that battery every time it dies because I've got better things to do. I teased him that if he got really good at this, I'd leave the dishes for him to wash up. What? So now you're going to turn me into your houseboy, or should I say your ghost boy? Ha ha ha. Next time, I don't know about that. I know you'll be making me take out the trash. That's one thing I don't miss about being in a body. I'll do anything for you except that. I love you, Pam, but no thanks. And although it had been spectacular, that was the first and last time Alan moved an object, saying that he preferred to focus on projecting his love to me more than anything else. I joked with him that he was just afraid that I'd make him earn his keep. In the early days of his return, Alan knew that sending his thoughts to me would probably be useless, since I'd assumed that they were my own thoughts. And while I heard him with astonishing clarity at times, it wasn't always easy for him to get through to me for a lengthy mind to mind chat because I wasn't stopping long enough to listen to him. This is a common problem since many of us are too distracted to hear the other side. Wait a minute, I said to him. You wake me up at 3 a.m. You have me writing constantly. And now I'm giving readings with you, but aren't your thoughts already in my head all day, every day as it is? What is that if it's not telepathy? Pam, the answer is yes and no. There's no so much more, so much more than I want to tell you and show you. But the thing is, you need time to adjust to my energy, which is way too high and intense for you. Plus, you're still grieving. Even if your grief is less than what most widowed people experience, in a reading, you're not attached to the information. So it's easy for you to convey my thoughts. Whereas when you and I talk directly, you tend to doubt yourself and think you're making it up. This is why this journey has to be an incremental one, step by step, day by day, until you are sure that I'm speaking to you mind to mind, heart to heart, and soul to soul. You can do this. I know you can because you're far more patient than I ever was. It had been 68 years that took for my life's purpose to finally arrive. And how could I have known that everything I'd experienced, all of the failures, mistakes, and missed opportunities had led me to this day, the day that Alan died, which instead of being the end for us, offered us a new beginning. It was late in the game, but I was finally experiencing what it felt like to be loved completely and unconditionally. And as if that wasn't enough, this supernatural experience with him was strengthening my spiritual abilities, which he confirmed were equal to his, since we are equal in every way. He said, I should never think that I'm less than him because I'm still in a body. My only limitation is that I have to drag my body along with me through time and space, whereas he can go anywhere just by using his mind and his intention. Pam, let me show you what I mean when I say that I'm always with you. In an instant, I see myself sleeping in bed with Alan, lying beside me with his head on his pillow, his face pressed up against my cheek. He's gazing at me with enormous love in his eyes, and as I feel into this, tears begin to flow, mine and his. Next, I see myself in the kitchen, washing dishes. He's standing behind me, holding me, kissing my neck like he used to, which would have irritated me, but this time I look blissed out. Alan's face is beaming. Seeing this makes me cry even harder. I can feel his happiness wash over me. I then see us driving to the mortuary to pick up his ashes that were placed inside the gorgeous pink Himalayan salt urn that I'd chosen for him. He's sitting beside me in the passenger seat, laughing, joking that the ashes are not him. Yet, even with constant wisecracks, his eyes are filled with immense love. Next, he's sitting beside me at the dining table, watching me eat my dinner as I cry inconsolably when I couldn't feel him and thought that he had left me again. His arm is around my shoulder as he gazes at me with tender concern. As that scene fades, I see Alan standing next to me with his arm around my shoulders again as I work on my computer. He's reading everything I type. He whispers something in my ear that I can't hear. And as he smiles at me, his beaming face radiates love. In an instant, I feel myself grinning. I had responded to Alan without even realizing it. In the last vision, we're walking to the mailbox to fetch the mail. He looks up at the sky and then scans the street, which is quiet since it's a dead end. Alan smiles and takes hold of my hand as I walk back to the house. Nothing was too mundane for him to join me in. Next, I watch him spin a giant kaleidoscopes of images of every single thing I've ever done and every place I've been to since his passing. I gasp when I see that in each and every frame, he is with me. I realize I've never been alone, not once. See, I meant it when I said I'm always with you, Pam. And as I take all of this in, I feel the full depth of his love. How could I have even doubted that he was with me? My darling, you were in such pain. How could you feel anything but love, lost, and sad? I prayed that my love would break down the wall of grief you had put up. So I just kept on loving you. I have no choice in this, for come what may, I will stay by your side and love you always. I'm not going anywhere without you. There is no heaven for me without you in it. So where would I go? Heaven is where you are. So I just want to stop there a minute to remind you that this is true for you too, right? You're thinking that they're not there is only your belief and your perception. They're always there, especially if this is a partner, okay? Especially if you, and this is the part that's important, especially if you are continuing to attempt contact in whatever way you can, okay? That you are open to it, that you're inviting it, right? That you're participating in this. If you're not, then it can be different. But I promise you, this is what he's telling me and what Spirit's saying loudly. They can be with us 24/7, and they are, okay? If you don't want that, all you have to do is say, I don't want that. And even then, they're still going to be there. You're just not going to perceive them as clearly. It won't be as evident to you. And the reason I know this is true is because we're all one on the other side. There's no place else to go. This whole idea, right, that heaven is some faraway place that you can't get. No, it's heaven is here. We are here. We're immersed in it. We're just on at a realm, the earth plane realm, right? So we can't access the other realms because we have a body right now that you have to take your body with you, and you can't take your body to the higher realms. You got to drop the body, step into your soul body, and then off you go. But your consciousness can commune with them, can travel in dream time, can travel out of body. Okay, you just can't take the physical body with you. So As long as you want this, as long as you're attempting in whatever way you can, and if for some reason you've got to put a pause on that, let's say you're not feeling well or something's come up in your life, you cannot lose any ground that you gained. That is not how reality and existence works. There's only forward progression. That's it. You can't go back. You can't like get worse. You can't really forget what you gain. Okay. You can't. You can temporarily choose to, live the illusion that you forgot. But once you let go of the illusion, the reality just pours in. You cross over the other side, you return to being all that you are, and nothing can ever be lost. Okay, so remember that those thoughts of loss and limitation and separation, those all come your physical ego human self, which thinks in those terms. So when you have a thought that makes you feel negative feelings of emotion, okay, like sadness, fear, whatever, that means what you're thinking is false, is not true. That's how your emotional guidance system works, folks. Pay attention to it. This is why when you think the thought that your loved one is lost, that you cannot connect with them, this is why it's going to tear you apart because it is a freaking lie. Please get that through your heads. You're telling yourself a lie that they're dead, that they're lost, that they're gone, that you can't connect with them. And if you keep telling yourself that lie, which you're free to do, you will only create that illusion. And it will fall away when you return to the other side because they're not lost and they're not dead. They're more alive than you and me. You only knew they're more alive because they have let go of their negative ego and their density, right? The physical density of this world, and their highest version of themselves. I'm not saying they're perfect because the soul is continually growing and learning and refining. So there's no end point that you reach. It's just that they're more perfected than they were when they were here. Okay. And you and I will return to that too. So as long as you make effort in this, as long as you're open to it, as long as you're not in fear about it, which will also close the door. If you're afraid of connecting, that's going to block you. If you're doubting it, it's going to pinch off the connection. Okay. It is normal for you to need to take time to trust what you're hearing and perceiving, experiencing. That's okay. Okay. Just the more you talk to them, the more you trust what you're perceiving. And in Academy, I'm always coaching our students to just claim it and own it and milk it for all of its worth. Like, who cares what other people think? You don't have to tell anybody about this. It's nobody's business but your own. That's it. In fact, I suggest that you not tell many people that you're doing this because their beliefs, if they're negative and limiting, are going to bring you down, and it's going to make it harder for you to go through the veil and reach for what you desire, okay, on the other side, which is your loved one. You got to be really discerning. I don't tell anybody unless I know that they're open to this. And if they are, then I'll share. Okay. But this is why you need to be part of a community. This is why we created our Facebook group, Soulmates in the Afterlife. This is why we, especially our academy, because there you've got pretty much support 24/7 almost with our messenger chat group and in our weekly classes and things, and then all of the content, all the attunements we have. But you've got to find support for this. And I'm not just trying to drum up a business for our academy because it's really not for everyone, because there's work you got to do. It depends on how much you want this. And if you want this, we'll go all in for you to help you to manifest that, to achieve that. But this isn't like something you just sit back and pray about and hope the best. There's action you have to take in the physical world. There's things you have to learn and things you have to unlearn. That's just the truth of it all. So, you know, that's the name of our academy. You can just go to our website to learn more about it. All the information is there, how to join us. And it's only $19 a month, like $19 a month, people. The main gift of it is the community, and Alan is helping your loved one on the other side. I know that sounds hard to believe. I've had too many people at this point tell me, yes, I went to a medium and the medium told me that Alan, who's this Alan? Like this one medium who's, I'm not going to say who the name is, but he's well known. And he even said to the client, like, who's this Alan guy? And it was Alan helping not only your loved one, but you. Okay. So if you want this, though, I have never to this day seen anybody achieve this on their own. I hope somebody will, but right now I haven't seen it. Okay. I'm going to close with a beautiful story that was sent to me, emailed to me, that I've shared in our Soulmates group. And it just shows you how our loved ones are there for us in our darkest hour and can even create magic and miracles for us. I promise you they can do that. The other side can heal us. It's astounding what they can do for us. And so, yeah, let's get to this story. This is the story of Emma and Scotty. I just wanted to take this moment in case you do, in fact, receive it, to thank you because my partner passed away 1 year and 3 months ago. Who's counting? Me, every minute. Pam, I too have continued a relationship with my twin flame. He talks to me every day. I feel his love as strong as the wind, and the signs and synchronicities are fit for a movie. For example, the week following his tragic and unexpected death, he was killed at the hands of another during a mugging. I drove to a random seaside town and cried helplessly. I wanted to dive off the cliff into the water. Instead, I smelt prawns, and I followed the fragrance to a cafe on the Esplanade. I ordered the prawns. I hadn't eaten in 7 days. I couldn't eat that meal either, but I looked down at the prawns and a crimson sauce, wishing that I could. He would have loved this dish, I thought to myself. I just wanted to die. Last Sunday, 1 year and 3 months following his murder, I saw visions of the prawn meal. Go back there, I heard him say. So I did. I sat on the same cliff face, welcomed by an angelic white feather. I then walked into that cafe and I ordered the prawns in crimson sauce. I almost cried with the exquisite flavor. I spent 2 hours eating it, savoring every bite. I drank 2 glasses of crisp white wine as the sun set on my face. And I felt him sitting across from me like a dinner date. I checked my bank transaction history yesterday. That day, it's non-existent. The charge for the meal is not there, nor the wine. He took me on the date. He paid for it with his ethereal love. I am mind blown. I look forward to your videos and emails, and I want to remind you of how rare and sacred you are. And I thank you for keeping me here. Love you, Emma and Scotty. Such a beautiful story, one of so many that I've been Really blessed and honored to hear and read. I had no idea when we wrote our book that I'd hear so many people coming forward to me, telling me that they were having their own relationship through the veil. Here I thought that we were an anomaly, that we were just one of few. No, I feel that our numbers are growing and that far too many people are afraid to speak up or share because they don't want to be judged and have people think they're crazy. Well, if you're watching this now, I want you to know you are not crazy. This, what we're talking about, this is the true reality. The other side is the true reality. It's our eternal home. This world you and I inhabit in this moment is the world of illusion that is temporary, that will fade away. All of it will fade away and be replaced by something else in time. But you and I and our loved ones, we live on, we go on. We are not this 3D physical body. By the way, you do have a body on the other side. You are not just floating around like Alan's showing, putting in my head, Casper, the friendly ghost. Like, you're not a ghost floating around wispy like nothing. No, the reports have come in that you're actually more physical on the other side than you are here. More physical because you have all of your energy. You have no limiting beliefs. You're fully who you truly are. And so you have another density. Okay. You have a physical body, but it's not this body per se. It looks similar to this, but again, more perfected. And you could change your appearance too, because your thoughts create on the other side. So if you wanted to look differently, you just have to think it and your body will transform. But from what I understand so far, what you look like right now, this is generally what you always look like with some deviation if you incarnate in the earth plane world. On the other side, you don't have to be born and forget who you are, be born into a body. You just go visit those realities and those dimensions as you're in your soul body. But the earth realm is one of the, or maybe one of the few realms where you are born into a physical body and you forgot who you are. Okay. So this is different here. So that's all we have for you today. And I'll be sharing more stories from our members, from our students, from people who email us. But I just want you to know that if you are on this journey, I understand how it's challenging for you. I understand that it's easy to start doubting. So when you do that, though, when you start feeling that fear, the doubt, and the pain, remember that it's coming from a thought you're having that is not true. So it's important that you focus on thinking thoughts that are true, even if you don't fully believe it yet. So an example would be if you have a thought of doubt that comes up that tells you, I don't know if I'll ever really connect with my loved one, just counter it by saying to yourself, of course I'll connect with them. Of course I'll feel them, hear them, see them. And notice that that makes you feel better. Why? Because that's true, because it's possible for you. Just because it's not happening in this moment doesn't mean it can't happen in the next moment. And this is what I really want to emphasize to you today. Things can change in an instant, literally. Literally. And if you want that change, then be open to that. But don't go pushing on it. Wanting it is going to block it. Let go of the wanting, rest in the knowing that what you want, what you need, which is this connection, is there. It's manifested already because thoughts create. Your job now is just to get busy celebrating this relationship as best you can, letting go of doubts as best you can, countering those doubts, those fear thoughts with positive thoughts. I know it's hard because we live in a world that is so cynical and right now more negatively focused than ever before. And this is why I invite you to join us in the Academy, because you really will benefit by being surrounded by, I think right now we have over 200 people, by surrounded by other people who believe as you and I believe, because it matters. It matters. The group energy is what's going to carry all of us. Okay. This is not a journey you can do on your own. I've seen too many people leave us and kind of go off the rails, and it's really sad. Okay. So join us if you can. This is $19 a month. Try us for 1 month. If you don't like it, quit, cancel. And we'd be happy to welcome you into our family, onto our supernatural love train, as we like to call it. And this train is headed for heaven. Alan says we're already halfway there. So that's all we have for you today. If you have your own story of supernatural love, share it here in the comments. Okay. If you want the book, there's a link to the book in the description box. The physical book is magic. It is. Okay. It's like, there you go. It's magical. Alan made that cover. Yes, that is his artwork. That stream is a painting of his, and he added, with the help of our dear friend Maria, he added our wedding picture from our first wedding, and he added some other elements in there. And when we were trying to figure out with our publisher what our book cover should look like, I was half struggling until he said, "Why don't you use my painting?" Like, duh, like I should have thought of that right away, right? So that painting, the cover, the book, was literally made by an angel. And so it'll connect you to your angels, both your loved one who is in their own way an angel. Okay. So enjoy your day, your night, your afternoon, whatever you're doing. We're sending you love for next time. Thanks, Sherry. Sherry's saying the book helped her with her grief so much. Yes, I'm glad you found our group too. I'm glad if you're watching our YouTube channel too, you guys. Be sure to subscribe and like and share, okay? Because it helps us get the word out. If you want to do us a favor to reach more people, to help save lives, literally, please subscribe to our channel and tell your friends to do the same. All right, next time, take care. Wishing you a great week.